Hey there, in this video we'll talk about the difference between basic voltage control, or DC fans for short, and PWM fans, as well as some things to consider when setting them up in your build. First, let's define what DC and PWM fans are. DC stands for direct current and PWM stands for pulse width modulation. For DC case fans, a header or controller will feed a certain amount of voltage to your fans, usually between 12 volts or 5 volts, with 0 volts being off. A standard DC fan can be recognized by the common 3-pin fan connector. The disadvantage for DC fans is that the range of voltage supplied can be limited, and there is a minimum threshold of how low you can run your fan's RPM with certain setups. Meaning you may want your fans to run slower or quieter, but can't due to the limitations of the DC power source. This is where PWM fans come in handy. PWM fans will come with 4-pin connectors instead of 3. The 4th pin on the connector is what provides the control signal for a PWM fan. How PWM controls voltage delivery is measured in Hertz and is typically represented as a percentage or duty cycles. The lower the duty cycle, the lower the RPM on the fans. With PWM, you have more precise control over your fan speeds, which can result in more consistent performance. This is especially useful if you already know that the amount of cooling needed for your system is adequate and you don't want to waste energy or introduce more noise by running your fans at full blast. When plugging fans into a motherboard header, splitter, hub, or controller, it's important to know which control method is available through that header. Most motherboards and controllers like the Commander Pro will automatically detect the type of fan that is connected to a header and switch between 4-pin PWM and 3-pin DC control for you. However, you may need to dive into your settings to ensure that your fans are being controlled appropriately. Remember, you can use a 3-pin DC fan on a 4-pin PWM header, but if the header is set to PWM mode, that fan will run at 100% as a PWM header will provide a constant 12 volts. On the flip side, you can control some 4-pin PWM fans with a 3-pin DC header. However, many PWM fans are designed to run over a PWM header for optimal performance, so it's recommended to use a 4-pin PWM fan with a 4-pin PWM header to be safe. And that's it for how to set up DC and PWM fans when building your PC. For more information about PC building, please visit our Corsair Lab YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.